Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scouts. We are looking ahead to Fantasy Premier League Game Week 28. It's a blank game week with many top teams like Manchester City and Brighton, another top team there, not playing. But there's plenty of great players to choose from. This time we're focusing on the underachievers on the goals imminent table and its sister table, the assists imminent table. We're looking to see those under the radar options who've got the underlying stats, have not yet shown that on the pitch yet, but they could be offering good returns for our teams. We'll also reveal our Game Week 28 transfer plans. In addition, we'll take any questions we have at the end of the stream. So have a think about those who have already joined us in the live chat, and those that are joining us a bit later. Do have a think about those. My name is Joe, and joining me to unearth some under-the-radar gems is Tom Freeman, Fantasy Football Scouts Deputy Editor. Tom, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks, Joe. Okay game week so far. I think Kane and McAllister did well for me, but like a lot of managers, lots of points on the bench.
Yeah.
And Solly Marsh as well, dubious non-goal / own goal, whatever it was in the end. So yeah, I mean, we've still got 2 games to go, haven't we, tomorrow? So let's see how it is after that. But okay so far.
Yeah, definitely. I felt, we were talking before we came on air. I wildcarded and I had bench points, but I've obviously wildcarded to set myself up. So I already resigned myself to bench points. So I don't mind that. And I used to always say on the Scoutcast as well with bench points, because there's 3 levels you can have with a player: owning the player and fielding them, so you get their points. Benching them, you don't get their points, but at least you've got them for the next week, or you got any price rises and those things. Or the third option, you just don't own them at all, in which case you've got to play catch up a bit. So we'll look at our teams a bit later, but there's a couple of players in particular we'll be looking at in Game Week 28 that I've already got in place. So I'm quite pleased about that. Fingers crossed they survive whatever goes on in training and all those types of things during the week. Just welcome to those early birds joining us in the live chat. Ishan and A. Dawson, thanks a lot for joining us. Lots of you as well there. Do please make yourself known and have a think about some questions in the live chat as well for us at the end. We'll do that. We'll do that call towards then when we look at teams. Also a reminder to do press that like button. It helps us a lot, and do subscribe as well, and do tell your friends to subscribe so that you keep up to date with all our videos. Also a reminder that if you're watching a video and you oh no, I've got to go out, I've got to do something, but you can still listen to that maybe in the car commuting or on the train or dog walking as I do. Everything's on a podcast as well. So if you don't have time to watch the video, don't worry. If you can still listen to it, do listen to the podcast. We've got details there on the Fantasy Football Scout Twitter page on the homepage there. I think there's a link tree link there. Just have a look on there. But also, it's, your favourite podcast places, Spotify, Apple, everywhere like that. So okay, a bit of that over with. Let's have a look to see how we got on last week, though. So so far, this is the goal imminent previous that we put up last week, and McAllister saved us again for Brighton. He has scored well there. So this is the second week there. So I think he is going to be leaping off the table. He will not appear on the next table. I can immediately say that because this is second. You get two goals. You leap off the goals imminent table. So we've got Nketiah there. He didn't play. Jesus did play. And we have Jesus. He didn't score this time around, but will he be on the latest table? He's the figure on our thumbnail here. So in terms of look who's back, and Jesus is back to put into the mix. We've got Neil Maupay, Solanke, who got an assist, didn't score. Cher for Newcastle, Fernandes, Manchester United, who's perpetually trying to score or assist, Jota at Liverpool, Mitrovic and Iheanacho. So I have all of that there. Who's the most interesting in terms of you think they might still be on the tables? You think they definitely got the chance to score soon?
Well, I think, like you say, McAllister won't be on the next one, will he? Because he's been doing so well. He's just been transformed since moving to this number 10 role.
Yeah.
And he's just taking so many shots. I think he's had 18 in the last 4 games and 6 big chances as well. So excellent option. still. He's a bargain, but he will blank, won't he, in 28, but then he's back with a double in 29. So if you haven't got him, definitely be looking to get him for that 29 double.
Yeah.
And then Jesus came back at the weekend, late substitution. He had a big chance within a few minutes of coming on. I thought it was going to be the perfect kind of return, but he missed that one. But he linked play well, and I don't think we'll see him start till after the international break probably. But he's back, and he's going to be eaten into the minutes of probably Trossard. So something to look at. Who else have we got? We've got Fernandez. I'm looking at him myself for double game week 29. Yeah, I mean he was deeper at the weekend. He played. He started out alongside Casemiro in kind of the deeper midfield role in the 4-2-3-1. So that's something to keep an eye on. I wouldn't want him playing there all the time.
Well, I mean, with Casemiro out, because Casemiro's got a 4-match ban now.
Yeah,
where do you think that? How has that historically affected Fernandes? Does that mean that he stays up front, or is he forced to go back a bit more?
No, I mean, the deeper thing, I think it happened against Betis in the Europa League last week. And Ten Hag came and spoke about it and said, look, Fernandes can play this role. He's very good at it. I don't think it worked that well at the weekend. So I think he'll be back in that either the 10 role or the wide right role, which he sometimes plays. But just something to keep an eye on. I mean, we've got the FA Cup match to watch them before we have to make our game week 29 decisions. So yeah, something to keep an eye on for sure. And then Iheanacho as well at the bottom. So he's huffing and puffing, but not really delivering at the moment, is he? Leicester aren't in a great moment, so maybe we'll talk about them a bit later on, Joe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know there's a particular Leicester player I've got in mind to get, but Leicester are tricky at the moment. I can't predict their returns. They've got good players. But they're not gelling as a team, and not somewhere that I ideally want to invest in. But you never know. I mean, I thought that about Spurs at the weekend. I was very tempted to get rid of Kane before that because Spurs looked so poor recently. And then he got a 13-point return. So very glad I didn't do that. But very difficult. Let's have a look at the assists imminent table. Okay, bit more success this time, and a real wow! How did you unearth that gem there? The Duke himself at Everton, Decore, 5.3. We said he'd get an assist. His assist was imminent, and it arrived. So I'm really pleased about that. McNeil scored but didn't get the assist, so he got a return. Well, that's like a half mark for us there. Solly March didn't get his assist, didn't get his goal either, which will be annoying to many of his owners there who thought he had scored. Trippier did get an assist finally. So that probably will mean that Trippier is off the table, because that will mean over his last 4 matches, I think he might have had 2 assists, or he'll certainly be up there. I'm not sure. We'll have a look. No. That's to come. Havertz there, assist imminent, didn't help out. Traore at Bournemouth, Partey at Arsenal, Sancho at Manchester United, and Sarabia at Wolves, who didn't play, I don't believe. I've trouble following Wolves because I have no interest in their assets. So it's a purely biased views. I'm not really looking at Wolves, so I don't believe he played. Out of this lot here, I mean, who interests you? Who's notable for you there, Tom?
Well, I'm a Solly Marsh owner, so Saturday was a bit of a roller coaster and didn't finish in a good way. But look, owners have been a bit unlucky over the past few, I think, not to have got anything from him. I think his XGI is kind of minus 1.15, his delta. So, we're unlucky not to got a return out of it. But it was a Premier League decision. It wasn't FPL. So before everybody starts, sending nasty messages to the FPL admin, it was a Premier League Opta decision. So it is what it is. But it's a chance for him to get back on the score sheet tomorrow night. And then who else have we got? We've got Trippier. I mean, we've been saying for a while that he's been creating chances, but Newcastle just haven't been scoring or converting them. And they brought Isak in at the weekend, and I thought he looked absolutely brilliant up front for them. And lo and behold, Trippier gets his assist, Isak scores. So really good option now. Probably the best defender to own in the game for the next few weeks, I think, because he plays this week. He's then got the double. So all good. Havertz we'll probably talk about in a bit, but really interesting option this week. And Decore, yeah, got the assist for us, didn't he, Joe? So pleased with
Definitely,
that.
yeah, that's a real gem there. Just before we look at the goals imminent table, I'll just explain a bit about that. Basically, to be on the goals imminent table, this is us trying to predict, using the stats to try and predict future returns. It's those with great underlying stats, but they're not yet putting those on the pitch. So they have to have scored if they've scored more than one goal on this table, they're off. Because they're not goals imminent anymore, their goals arrived. So that's a good way of leaping off the table. A bad way is to forever be on there, to have the underlying stats but never ever coming to fruition in terms of FPL points. That's your Nathan Redmond basically. And the other way is just simply your stats drop off, the returns drop off, you just gradually drop off the table, you just move down each week and then off. And that's probably the worst way because there's no hope there. So let's have a look at the latest goals imminent table. Okay, so I'll go down the list, then I'll get your views, Tom. So I'll just do it piece by piece. So take the first two first. So we've got Nketiah and Jesus. So Jesus is there. He's been on there all the times we've been doing this. I've only just put him on while he's been. There's a hint that he might play. There's no point putting an injured player, long-term injured player on. So he's been on the table for 6 weeks now, Jesus. This is his last 4 matches he's played. He's had 5 big chances, missed them all, but he had 5 shots on target that time, 15 shots inside the box, 16 in total. So he's very, very potent threat there. Just a little reminder for us all. Nketiah as well, who's been deputising for him, just the 1 shot on target, 10 shots inside the box. So that underlines which one of these two is the better option. But of course, Trossard has been filling in as a false 9, and he supplied all the assists. So arguably, Arsenal wouldn't be where they are recently if it wasn't for Trossard, because he has really notched up all the assists. He won't feature on Assists Imminent. He's doing that every week he plays. So just taking all those 3 players, really, just 2 we've got on this table. Who's gonna play up front for Arsenal this week and next few weeks?
I think Nketiah, I mean, he's got this ankle injury and he's being assessed, I think. But even if he was fit, I think he's dropped down to 3rd choice now behind those 2 because Arsenal are playing so much better with Trossard in the team, aren't they?
Yeah.
He's kind of unlocked Martinelli as well, who suddenly now is one of the best Arsenal, if not the best, with Saka option for them. So I think we'll see Trossard in 28 against Palace. After that, I think then Jesus, after he's had the international break to start building up his fitness, he'll start playing again as well after that.
Okay.
So it's quite hard to look at any of those players right now, really, as a longer return option until we know exactly what Arteta's got in mind. But it will certainly be Jesus and Trossard after the international break, I think, in that kind of centre forward role.
Yeah, they're tricky. They're tricky ones to get. I think they're all going to get minutes, and I think Arsenal at the weekend underlined the fact they scored so many goals, and that's what they're doing each week. That I don't think you can go wrong, even as a sub. I mean, I was a Martinelli owner when he was a sub, and for one match, and when he was in the starting lineup, and I didn't mind because a player like that, you don't mind for 20 minutes because they're going to get so many chances.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a bit of rotation, isn't there, as well, because he's got so many options that he can pick and choose depending on opponents and things like that. So that might be why Odegaard maybe is bumped up a bit now with all of these players back, because he's super nailed in that role, isn't he? That attacking midfield role.
The live chat agrees as well about Jesus. The Earl of Lemon Grab, great name, has said that Jesus looked very sharp at the weekend, could start this coming weekend. So he's very impressed there. Next name on our list, Leicester. Leicester not as impressive as Arsenal. Iheanacho there, 3 big chances, missed them all. 2 shots on target though. This is his 2nd week on this table, so it's not too long. And he's had 8 shots inside the box out of his 10 shots in total. He is a tempter though, isn't he? For those, because he plays game week 28 and he has a double in 29. So just the volume of, but I mean, is his place at risk? Is his chances of scoring at risk for playing for Leicester?
Well, I like him a lot. We've spoken about him for the past couple of weeks, haven't we, Joe? But Leicester switched system at the weekend. They went to a back three, and Daka was in the starting lineup as well. So Iheanacho was a little bit wider on the right, I think, than usual. He had just the one shot. So really. I mean, I do like him, but I just worry that when you get a team like Leicester, who are really in a bad moment at the moment, I think they've lost 5 in a row. The worry is that Rodgers says, well, look, I'm going to switch this system up a bit. And suddenly Iheanacho is going to be back on the bench. So, yeah, I don't mind it, but there is a little bit of risk there, which you don't get with players like Watkins and Tony, who are super nailed in their team. So, yeah, I would probably put him a tier below those players.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
it wouldn't surprise me if he scored.
no, I mean, the very fact that Watkins and Tony are not on this table, and they're not on this table for a good reason. They're scoring. I know Tony's still got one match to go. This is being streamed before the Wednesday match, Brentford's midweek match. But yeah, they're for a good way. And say Iheanacho is a notch below them at the moment. Got Pereira and Mitrovic at Fulham. I think we'll sort of sketch over them because no one's going to be interested in them in Game Week 28 and no double in 29 not playing. But nevertheless, does underline Pereira. It's so cheap. 4 shots inside the box. 4.3. People can't. I mean, I've got rid of him as well. So we can't get enough of getting rid of him. But he is there. Mitrovic though, 10 shots inside the box, 3 on target. João Felix, 7.6 million. He's had 2 big chances, missed them both, but he's had 2 shots on target and 4 shots inside the box. And this is his first week on the table. This is what you want to see with him. You're starting to see some more returns. He was very good when he initially came in, and then it sort of dropped off a bit, started to look at other Chelsea assets maybe or ignore Chelsea. But suddenly he's back on this table. So his underlying stats are suggesting that he's there because this is sorted by expected goal data. So he hasn't scored in the last 4, but he should have scored according to this. Yeah, so it's been. What did he get over? Was it the weekend? Did he assist at the weekend? I can't remember now. I seem to remember him getting a return recently.
No, I think the last goal he scored certainly was against West Ham a few weeks back.
Yeah,
I think because he's had 4 blanks in a row, and but he's had goals. I think there's been goals disallowed, which he's been involved in, hasn't he?
VAR has ruled out his goals. Yeah.
Yeah, his name's popped up a fair bit, and you kind of think it's a bit like a Solly Marsh, where you think you got something, and then it's swiped away from you. It just feels like, I mean, I know people that own him, and they're like, is he ever going to score? Because it feels like it's coming each week, and it just doesn't. And he actually came off at half-time at Leicester for Conor Gallagher, I think, which was a tactical thing.
That was tactical as well. So, yeah. So he should have scored a goal, at least a goal over the last 4. Just going back to those other expected goal delta stats, this is what they should have scored above what they may have done. Jesus should have scored, getting on for nearly 2 goals in his last 4 matches. Iheanacho, 1.5 goals, whatever a half a goal is, over that time as well. So it does underlie their potency for points. Indeed, in the live chat, Sports Betting 77, Felix did just get 45 minutes last game. Well pointed out there. Okay, Fernandez not playing next. So I've mentioned Bowen not playing Game Week 28, Ben Rahman not playing 28. So not going to be immediate interest. But for Game Week 29, pretty much all 3 of them should be on interest, really. You mentioned you're interested in Fernandez. What about Bowen and Ben Rama as well, or at least one of them?
Yeah, I like Bowen. I've always been a fan of him. I think he's got about 7 attacking returns at home just in home games this season, and that's important because both of his double Game Week 29 games are at home. And I was looking at some stats earlier. I think he's had 29 shots in the box at home this season, which is the same amount as Saka. And it's actually more than Martinelli, Tony and Watkins in home games this season. So he gets into good threatening positions. He takes a lot of shots in home games. So I quite like him for that double. I think it's Southampton and Newcastle, both at home. Ben Rama, he had 10 shots against Villa at the weekend, which is the most of any player in a single game this season, aside from Odegaard against Bournemouth, who had 11. But 10 shots is an incredible amount for one game.
Yeah.
He scored his penalty. The only worry with Benrahma again is minutes, because he played 90 at the weekend, but prior to that he'd played 45, and then I think a couple of weeks before that he only played 18. And Moyes always seems to if they have a bad performance, he mentions Benrahma fairly or sometimes not fairly, and pulls him up a little bit. And I always just feel that his place isn't quite nailed in that team. So that's the appeal. That's what the 2.5 million extra gets you with Bowen. He's nailed on. And I really like him as a differential punt for that double game week 29.
Okay, let's move on to the assists imminent table there. So once again, we've got an eye on game week 28 with the blank. So we're focusing on those that are actually playing. And I've missed off. I didn't flag up the Everton asset, but we can talk about him because I just don't think many people are going to go there with Everton. No. So assists imminent. March, he's not playing, but his assist is still imminent. There with his 11 chances created, 10 corners last 4. He's expected to have got well over an assist to add to his goal last 4. Havertz is there, still on the assist imminent table, 9 chances created, should have got at least an assist over the last 4 matches to go with his goal. He's had 2 successful crosses. This is 3rd week on the table, so not too many weeks on the table. Not Nathan Redmond levels yet. Havertz, he's another. I mean, some people are looking at getting rid of Haaland this week because he's not playing, and as a reasonable fixture in 29. So Havertz could be a good option with 3 fixtures. He looks a good option, doesn't he? To for those looking for a striker.
He looks really good. Yeah, he's scored in back-to-back games now, if you include the Champions League one against Dortmund as well as the one at the weekend. He's playing this kind of he's playing as a centre forward, but he's playing this kind of free role where he's interchanging positions with João Felix a lot, and he looks really threatening. Of course, we think he's on penalties now. That's what's come out in the past couple of weeks, which boosts him up another level. He had 5 shots against Leicester. So I think a lot of people this week are debating Havertz v Watkins, really. And I think they're both great options. Yeah. And with Havertz, it's more of that dual threat, though, isn't it? He's on this table, but he's scoring goals as well, whereas Watkins tends to be all about the goals. But I like Havertz a lot. I'm strongly considering which we'll talk about when we do our teams in a bit.
Yeah, he's on penalties as well for Chelsea at the moment because Jorginho is no longer there, and Reece James, is worth noting, has also been mentioned by the manager as a penalty taker. But it doesn't figure on this list because he barely ever plays. McNeil for Everton is next. Everton do play. So if you fancy going for an Everton player, and I do love, but he has been getting a lot of returns, 7 chances created. He has got an assist, but he should have got another one as well. So he should really be on 2 assists according to the expected assist data. He has already scored as well in those last 4. He's had 6 corners, 8 successful crosses. If it wasn't for other options from better teams, I'd actually been considering McNeil. He's 5.1 million. I think he's a really good option, isn't he, for 28?
Yeah, he'll be perfect under Dyche, won't he, Joe? Because they just play to his strengths. They know each other like the back of their hand, and he's starting to get a bit more. Everton are starting to show a little bit more attacking, just in general, from what I've seen of them recently. And it's a fixtures thing. The next 3 fixtures are really tough for Everton, so we're not going to go there. But at 5.1 million. Who knows later in the season, if they get a double potentially, or they have a nice little run of fixtures, then people invested in him recently, didn't they? Him and Iwobi were quite popular for Everton's doubles. But
definitely the sort of Everton ship has sailed slightly at the moment.
Yeah, in typical FPL style, now he's started to return as soon as he's left everybody's teams. But I think he'll do okay on that side. I
know the game week 26 wildcarders were all crying into their screens, looking at their lost Liverpool assets. But I got rid of Tarkowski on my wildcard this week. So a bit low key, not as sexy as getting rid of a Liverpool attacker, But yeah, I got rid of Tarkowski, who got what was his return? 8 points, 9 points this week.
Yeah,
So
he got the clean sheet and bonus
there's
as
no
well,
way I would
didn't
have
he?
played him. He would have
So
been on my bench anyway. But nevertheless, yeah, I can cry into my wildcard with the removal of Tarkowski as well. I'll sketch over the next two really, because Traore and Sancho, Manchester United, but Traore at Bournemouth. I guess Traore 4.5 if he's going to play, but there's question marks over will he'll play at the moment. And Sancho, I mean, yeah, with Bournemouth though, I mean, just to stop, Bournemouth in general are quite interesting. I mean, they have just beaten Liverpool, and they do play, and they have a double, and it's quite a good double.
Yeah, they've scored against. They scored the one against Liverpool, didn't they? But had quite a few chances in that match. They scored two at Arsenal the week before, and I think they scored against City the week before that. So, but as tough a run as you can actually get. They've scored in all of them. They go to Villa this weekend, which I actually think playing Villa at Villa Park is under Emery has actually been a good thing for away teams. We seem to be a bit more open there. And then he's got this double home match in the double. So yeah, I don't think it's Traore because he's injured that you're going to be looking at. But if somebody was going to look at a Solanke or Utara, I think I've pronounced that right. He's looked really lively recently. So suddenly, Bournemouth options they could make good enablers depending on what your other moves are.
Definitely, and same with Sancho. We'll sketch over him. He's one for next week's goals imminent, really. But worth pointing out, he's had 7 chances created and scored a couple of times as well. So his assist is to go with that. He should have got an assist over that time. Michael Brooker, Utara is certainly worth considering, he says in the live chat. Yes, so certainly getting agreement there. He's on my list of tempting players, but I don't know if I can quite go there yet. I'm a bit too old school to go Bournemouth midfielder, but if I was a bit more maverick, I might.
He's 5 million, I think. So good price.
The next two players are interesting. Both North London sides here. Odegaard at Arsenal. He has scored twice in his last 4, but he's had 10 chances created, taken 5 corners, 3 successful crosses. First week on this table. He's rarely on this table because he tends to hop off. So if he's on the goals imminent, he tends to hop off soon, and same with assists imminent. He should have got 3/4 of an assist, so getting on for nearly assist over that time to go with his 2 goals. He is a good option. He plays 28, plays 29, but doesn't double in 29. So you're looking at quality, not quantity of matches with him. Where are we with the Odegaard versus Martinelli debate? Which is the best to get?
Oh, it's tricky, isn't it, Joe? It's I own Odegaard, but I get why people have been opting for Martinelli, who's been with Nketiah and Jesus out, and he's been really thriving with Trossard, hasn't he? So Odegaard maybe just for that minute security. I'm kind of happy with that at the moment, but I'll obviously play Odegaard this week. I thought he was excellent at the weekend. He got the goal. He's Arsenal's main creator. So I really like him. But in 29, I think a lot of us with Arsenal assets will be faced with a decision because we're probably all going to play Saka, but then do we move the second Arsenal attacker to a double game week player, which I probably will do. But it's really through no fault of Odegaard's because he's been ticking along nicely.
I mean, I just have Saka at the moment, but if I did go for a second one, I probably would go for Martinelli. At the moment,
yeah, feels like he's got that explosive kind of potential.
I may even just do that and just think, well, I think in a double in game week 29, I think even one fixture could outscore a lot of double game week options.
Leeds at home, it's a very nice fixture for him, isn't it? So I may end up playing Odegaard, but we'll see.
So in our goals imminent table, we've got a sort of the return of Jesus in terms of look who's back. And look who's back on this table as well. So you got Son next up here. And people, I've for this first time in months, I'm seeing people on Twitter saying I'm considering getting Son in. And I must admit, it is quite tempting, especially if you're like me and you've got Salah and you want to move him on. You can afford to get Son. 11.6 million, arguably massively overpriced, but it's a short-term option. Plays 28, plays 29, no double in 29. They play Southampton next. We all know what Son and Kane can do there. 11 chances created, 8 corners. He scored a couple of times. Should have got getting on for assist for that time as well. And he's had 6 successful crosses. Is it time for Son again?
if I was on a free hit this week, I'd be really tempted. I think I probably would put him in there with Kane as well.
Yeah.
In terms of using a transfer on him now,
Yeah.
I'm not quite so sure because they don't double in 29. So what you're getting? You're getting Southampton away and
Yeah.
Everton away. When you could move for a midfielder, I'll have an additional fixture in that time. But Tottenham have got good 2 fixtures to follow that. I
Mhm.
mean, I say a good fixture. They play Brighton at home. That's not necessarily a good fixture these days, but it's a home game for Son, and then they play Bournemouth at home after that. So they've got a nice little run.
Mm.
It's just that lack of the double. But if I was on a free hit, I'd be tempted to roll the dice with him.
Yeah, I would as well. But I do have Kane, so I can, he'll
So,
do. He'll do probably coverage there for Spain, for Spurs getting
yeah.
Kane in. And this list of look who's back continues. Another new entry in the assist imminent table, Alexander Arnold. He is 7 chances created, 9 corners, no goals, and no assists. But he should have got getting on for at least half an assist and 8 successful crosses. I never see Alexander Arnold on this table. Because once he's on it, he tends to hop off because he's just assisted. This is a good sign, I think. Not playing game week 28, but game week 29, tough fixtures for Liverpool. But Alexander Arnold, I think, he's got pedigree. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just Liverpool's away form is so bad this season that it's. I mean, they'd kept 5 clean sheets on the bounce before the loss to Bournemouth, hadn't they?
Yeah.
And you kind of think, oh, they're turning a corner now. They're back. Everybody's looking at Salah for 29 again, and then they kind of throw in that performance, and it's just been their away form all year. They've just really struggled to get going. So. Alexander Arnold feels like a lot when they're going to turn in those kind of performances. And the fixtures are tough. You just mentioned it then, Joe. They've got City and Chelsea away in the double.
Yeah.
So that's a bit off-putting for me. And even then after that, they've got Arsenal in 30. So, yeah, it's hard to move for a player like Alexander Arnold now, I think. But potentially
Maybe.
further on.
Next name, Ward-Prowse. He's been here for an eye-popping 9 weeks on this table. So he has got some goals recently, but these are going to be from free kicks. They're going to be from penalties. And the fact that he's had this assist potential, he's 10 chances created last 4 and 15 corners as well. And obviously his goal is registered last 4 as well. 6 successful crosses. He's a good stats, but he's moved a bit further deeper. If he is going to get a return, he's going to be on the end of it. He's going to be delivering the free kick or the penalty. So his assist potential is pretty low, which indicates the rest of his team aren't reliable as goal scorers. So Ward-Prowse, even though he's on this table, he's not a player I'm looking. 9 weeks on this table, he is literally going to be the new Nathan Redmond. I'm not tempted at all. Are you?
No, I think the time for Ward-Prowse, if you were going to move, was before this double, which they're involved in now. I mean, he hit the bar at the at Old Trafford, didn't he, from his kind of trademark free kick? But the problem, a bit like Trippier, it's like you can create lots of chances, but if your forwards aren't converting them, you're never going to see any points for that. And that's been a problem for Southampton. They're not scoring many goals under Ruben Selles. They've really tightened up at the back. They're keeping clean sheets, but they're struggling to score. And Ward-Prowse was given a bit more license to get forward at the weekend because United went down to 10 men. But still, he had 2 shots, both of them outside of the box. So yeah, I'm not looking at Ward-Prowse at the moment. No. I think there are better options around that price point.
And the look who's back continues, St. Maximin as well. So he has been another sort of minor FPL legend last couple of seasons. Always looks good, but does get injured a bit. Chances created 8. He's had a corner, 2 successful crosses. Should have got an assist, or at half an assist to an assist over the last 4 matches he's played. Good to see him here. I very rarely see him on this assist imminent table either. He tends to pop off. Newcastle, good fixtures, double, playing 28. He is tempting, isn't he?
Well, Newcastle they've got Forest on Friday. They kick off game week 28, and then they've got the double after that. Didn't quite happen for St. Maximin against Wolves at the weekend, but Newcastle did look better in general. They had a lot more goal threat. The only worry with Saint Maximin is his place in the team. Now Gordon has picked up this injury, so he's going to be out. He's going to be out on Friday, which helps Saint Maximin. But Almiron was on the bench at the weekend and came on and made a real impact. He scored, and then you've got Jacob Murphy as well, who's been playing.
Okay.
So you'd think it would be Almiron and Saint Max, but there's a bit of kind of uncertainty there, which would put me off, I think.
Okay, so still Trippier and obviously maybe another defender and maybe Almiron. I mean, do we think Almiron is one to get now? Will he definitely start?
Yeah, well, he came on and he made such an impact at the weekend. He scored the winning goal. I think he's straight back in on Friday, and he was red hot, wasn't he, before the World Cup? And then he came back, scored on Boxing Day, and then went really cold again. But for his price, yeah, I don't mind him for the next kind of 3 matches now.
Yeah, I'm tempted. Almiron is a very, very tempting player for me to bring in.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry, Joe. We mentioned Trippier earlier, didn't we? Because he's only got the one assist in the last 4. So we're kind of saying, why isn't he on this? Well, I think it's his XA delta.
Yes.
I don't think it's those levels, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. And so whilst he has been high, we look at the number of chances created, the corners. It was said to me before, why is Trippier not on here? This was 4 or 5 weeks ago. And we could say then it was the same reason. It was in terms of the expected stats, they just weren't of the quality to be mentioned in the expected stats. So he wasn't expected to actually assist, no matter how many crosses, no matter how many corners he had. And he's not on here now. So just there. But nevertheless, he has assisted. Newcastle fixtures improve. He could have got a double-digit return. Although the Newcastle Wolves game is historically 1-1.
And it looked to be heading that way as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately for Trippier, it was his mistake which lost them the clean sheet when he slipped as well. So it's kind of like, it started off very well for him and then tailed off. But yeah, I think he's a really good option, I think, now for the next 3 matches.
Okay, we're going to come to our teams, what we're looking at for Game Week 28. We both wildcarded, you in 26, me just in 27 just now. And so do have a think about some questions. And while we're chatting about our teams, put the questions in the live chat. Remember to put a question mark in so I can see him and see him easily. And then we'll go through your questions as many as we can, and then we'll wrap up after that. But just to welcome those that have joined us, loads more who've joined us in the live chat. Gary, Sahil, Derek, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us, and do have a think about those questions. Also, do press like and do press subscribe. So we've only got 30 likes, but there's many more of you here. So do press that like button. Even if you don't like it, just press it anyway. So let's go with our team. So Tom, I'll put your team up. Okay, do you want to just sort of run through what you got and what your plans are and your captaincy and things like that?
Okay, yeah, so we've got Kepa in goal, got 4 defenders, double Newcastle, Trippier and Botman, and then Gabriel and Henry. 2 midfielders who are playing. I've got Saka, who's my current captain, and Odegaard, and then 2 strikers, Tony and Kane, and Raya, and then triple Brighton on the bench. So I've got 5 blankers there, 5 players who won't play.
So do you have 2 transfers or what?
Yeah, 2 free transfers and 2.5 million in the bank as well. So a bit of money to spend. So
decisions.
And you'll know I'm not quite decided on what I'm going to do yet. The idea initially was to just make 1 transfer, sell one of those players who blank, play with 10, and then take 2 free transfers into the international break, which will help me prepare for a bench boost in 29. I think it could be really useful having those 2 transfers. And the fact is as well, I don't really want to sell any of the players who blank, which I think a lot of people are in that position, aren't they? I don't want to sell Brighton players, because they've got a great double. Certainly don't want to sell Rashford. And then Haaland's kind of there, and a few people are selling him, aren't they, Joe? And I kind of get it. I mean, he plays once in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. He's due a price drop in the next day or 2.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've got players like Watkins and Havertz who are really appealing, who play 3 times to Haaland's 1 fixture. So they're probably going to outscore him unless Haaland goes absolutely mental against Liverpool in 29. In 29, yeah, I think that they probably will outscore Haaland in the next two
Yeah.
game weeks. I've got a bit of value tied up in him. I think I bought him for 11.5.
Well, yeah, I have as well. But I mean, I looked at that and I think value is immaterial this season. They're all so cheap,
Yeah,
aren't they? And I looked at that and I thought, okay, well, he's 12.2 at the moment. I've
correct.
sold
Yeah,
him for 11.8.
yeah.
He's due to come down to 12.1. So it would just
It's
cost
not
me,
loads, is it?
it just
Yeah,
cost me point 0.3 to get him back.
yeah,
And then in that time as well, he might go down again. Who knows?
yeah.
So I
Quite
don't think it's a
possibly.
tremendous amount of money, especially when you look at the Arsenal players and the Brighton players, and they're all so cheap. I mean, it's only really Son we've mentioned so far, and all those players that I would say is overpriced. No one else is.
Yeah, no, I agree, Joe. And as long as you've got a plan to get him back, probably in game week 30,
Yeah.
when they go to Southampton. So if you've got if you formulate a kind of 3-4 game week plan of transfers, a lot can happen. It might not go to plan, but at least if you've got an idea to get him back, I'm not totally against doing that this week. So Haaland to Havertz or Watkins could happen. I really like Watkins as well. He's our primary goal threat. Six goals in the last 7 under Emery. Good fixtures. He plays Bournemouth this week. Then he's got the double. Then he's got Nottingham Forest after that. So a really nice run. Villa have scored in every game under Unai Emery since he came in. So we look like scoring each game. So yeah, that's a real tough decision this week, Watkins or Havertz. But I like them both.
Yeah.
The other option I could do is I could move a Stupinan on, which I'll get your input on, Joe, because of being a Brighton fan. Now he plays twice in 29, but we've got the international break. Now I think I'm right in saying he travels to Australia.
It is. He
that
goes to
right?
Australia,
Okay.
and that I
Okay.
believe is 4 days before he's due to play again in the Premier League in his first 20 game week 29 match.
Yeah.
So, but there's a really good thread that I retweeted on Twitter by FPL Bateman. He put it up slightly tongue in cheek because it's so fantastically detailed about the travel Australian players in the Premier League and how they have fared in the game match after they've come back from international duty. So he's looking at the likes of Aaron Moy when he was here, Jedinak and etc.
Yeah.
So just looking at that, and I think one of the it's great thread. Do have a look at it. The thing I think though is with the Stupinan, because these sort of attacking fullbacks, wing backs, these types of players, because they run a lot up and down the wings, I think they are more susceptible to rotation if they are tired. So I personally think, because he is an important player, but at the same time they don't want to risk any injury or anything, I think he could start the first match at 29, but it would not surprise me for him to come off at any time between half time, 60 minutes, the dreaded 59 minutes. It is a risk. I think there is a risk there.
Yeah, no, I'll check that thread out absolutely, because he's a player I could sell this week to somebody like Ben Chilwell. So he's appealing. But I think at the moment, I want to keep McAllister, want to keep Solly Marsh, and I want to keep Rashford. So it will be involving selling either a Stupinan or Haaland, or both if I wanted to feel 11. But I'm leaning towards 10 this week and having 2 for the international break. Captaincy, it's on Saka right now, but I'm looking at Kane as well. And I'm not totally against Tony against Leicester, given the way they've been playing. But I think it'll end up on Saka or Kane.
Yeah, I was looking into Saka and Kane because since we used to do the captaincy video each week, and by the way, before Game Week 29, the captaincy video is going to be back. Will be a podcast as well, so we're going to be doing that ahead of Game Week 29. But we used to look at a lot of data there about the opposition and players. So I looked into Saka and Kane as well because they're the two I'm considering. And in terms of goal threat at the moment, in terms of goal involvement for their team, it's Kane. But in terms of their opposition, as in their chances of scoring against Crystal Palace home and Southampton away, it's fairly even, really. They're both, to be honest, they're both rubbish. Crystal Palace and Southampton. So yeah, we'll come to my team in a minute. But yeah, same dilemma, and I think many Kane and Saka owners
yeah,
the same.
it's a tough one. I mean, Palace are not in a good place at the moment. They've got they haven't had a shot on target in their last 3 matches. Palace.
Yeah, but they're going to play Brighton midweek, and Zaha will win it 1-0 for them. So watch out for their one shot on target.
I'll keep an eye out for that. Oh God, that would be a nightmare for all of us with Brighton, wouldn't it? So yeah, let's see. But yeah, at the moment I'm favouring Saka because of that home game as well. But because we've seen Tottenham on the road, just struggle so much for creativity, and they kind of labour to a 2-1 defeat or something. So yeah, I'm a bit more confident in Arsenal as a team at the moment. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I think the thing with Arsenal though, with the Arsenal assets, is that I am more confident with them at home to Crystal Palace. But I don't know which is going to score. Will Saka get 2 goals? Will he get nothing? Will he come out like he came out of the Fulham game with a blank? Which is annoying because he's my only Arsenal player.
And he just wasn't involved really at all. It was Martinelli, it was Trossard, it was Odegaard. They were the players, and he just didn't feel that involved to me. He didn't even look like scoring. So there is that. That's another factor to consider, and a really good one as well.
As if by magic, FPL Bateman, who I mentioned earlier with his thread about Australia players playing in Australia and then coming back to the Premier League after international duty, he has appeared in the live chat. He must have heard us. He has pointed another nugget here. Pointed out that Southampton have 3 clean sheets out of 4, which does sort of err it towards the side of an Arsenal player here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if that stat would have held up had United held on with had 11 players for the whole match. I think that changed the dynamic a little bit. But yeah, definitely, you're right to point that out. There has been improvement under Sellers.
Definitely. Just a reminder to everyone to get your questions in the live chat. We'll come to those after we do our teams. So moving on to my team. So a little bit different. So yours is I suppose a typical wildcard 26 team. And this is what you plan for, basically, this sort of team here. And so this is mine's a wildcard 26 team. And believe it or not, I plan for this. So I've gone for an exciting 5-2-3. I've one free transfer. I've got Kepa in goal. I've got Pinnock and Henry from Brentford's alongside Trippier, Chilwell, and Botman. So I'm reasonably happy with that. Double Brentford defence isn't ideal, but Trippier, Chilwell, Botman, Kepa in goal. Against Chelsea against Everton, happy with that. Saka tentatively my captain at the moment, but as you can see, I've got Kane as vice captain. I've got Salah, who's not playing. I've got up front, I've got Watkins. Ollie Watkins already in place. He was my choice. So I could have gone for him or Havertz, and I decided, or Solanke I could have gone for, but Watkins was the player I wanted on my wild card for this blank, and home to Bournemouth, which I think is a great fixture, and also in game week 29 with the double. Tony, home to Leicester, and Kane. And on my bench, I've got Steele. So this is why, with one free transfer, I can get 11 out this week, because I've gone for the Steele option here for Brighton. So I can bench him this week, ready for his double. Hopefully he plays in 29 both. I've got Matoma, McAllister, and Rashford. They're going nowhere. I'm not even thinking. That's why they're on the bench. They're tucked away. I'm not even tempted to get rid of any of those lads. So Salah's the one I want out. And I have a plan, and that is I had it on my phone. So what I do is I have the notes in your phone, and every 2 or 3 weeks I just put an FPL plan for the next 2 or 3 weeks in, and I've sort of been sticking to it, and it's done me okay really. So Salah out to anyone because Salah's most expensive, so I can get anyone I want. At the moment, I think it might be Maddison because he plays 28. And then plays double in 29. My caveats to that is, do I really want him playing against my double Brentford defence? Can I really trust Maddison to start both in 29? The international break could be a good thing, though, because he won't be called up, as far as I know, to England.
No, I thought so.
So that could be quite good for him. Yeah, Almiron is also tempting. Or just not, just leaving it, just going in for 10, having 2 free transfers, and then I can move Salah to, say, Fernandes. Because I possibly have no room for another midfielder. So Salah to anyone. And that'll be my move there. But also, it's all part of a plan that in my list here. So 28, Salah to Maddison for 11 players. Game week 29, I'm looking at Henry to Shaw. I've had enough of double Brentford defence then. Even though he doubles, I will move him to Luke Shaw for Manchester United. And I'm starting a process of reinvesting in Manchester United and possibly Arsenal, maybe Chelsea, Manchester City certainly, and moving on to there. So my moves over the next few weeks will be focusing on those teams that will potentially double and are just good teams, really good players. That's the key thing. And then game week 30, Tony to Haaland, or Watkins to Haaland, but one of those two will go, probably Tony. And that's my sort of plan there. Game week 31, I haven't got there yet, so we'll see. I've got a free hit ready for whenever, game week 32, or hopefully, this is my aim, if even though the doubles in 34 and 37 won't be as big as the game week 29 one, I can use a free hit then to sort of unleash it at the end and get the best players in those for that particular week. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think with this. Salah out to anyone seems the most sensible move.
I mean, firstly, I think it feels like you're a step ahead this week because you held the wild card a week longer than a lot of people, and you made 2 good decisions in getting Chilwell and Watkins in. Okay, they were on your bench last week, but now they're perfect to bring in. And they're people that they're transfers which everybody else who didn't wildcard last week is probably looking at.
Yeah.
So whilst you could afford to save, I would be really tempted by that Salah to Maddison move and to field 11. I think give you some nice amount of money in the bank then to make you move whatever that be in 29. And so I think Maddison's been unlucky not to return recently.
I guess if he's not fit enough to start in game week 29. First match there, then I guess he can be moved on as well. And
I think he will be though. I think that international break point was a really good one. I think that he's probably not going to be called up, and so 2 weeks of training, you would think he'd be ready for those 2 games against Palace and Villa, isn't it? And then he plays Bournemouth at home, and I think he's got Wolves a bit after that. So you could probably hold Maddison as providing his fitness is built up and he's looking sharper. You could probably hold him for a few weeks. So that's definitely what I'd be looking at, the Salah to Maddison move.
Definitely. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, those who joined us in live chat. I see some questions already. They're our tentative plans. I've actually given my plans for the next three weeks there. So hopefully I'll stick to them. I've been doing that so far. So we'll have a look at some questions then. So I saw this question here. Where was that? The first one here. Derek has asked, have you given Isak a thought? Yes, I have. I had Isak before earlier in the season, and he's brilliant. He's a really good player to have because he's quite low owned, and so when he scores, you get a really nice rank rise there from him. So I would, but I personally don't have a free striker slot. So I've got Tony, I've got Watkins, I've got Kane. I like them all. I want to keep Kane as well for the time being. But Isak, you're looking at the market for a striker possibly, Isak.
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant against Wolves in the first half. Thought he was really good. My only worry with him is that Callum Wilson, who has had a dip in form, he hasn't looked great recently, but he's a good forward. And so my only worry is, I think Isak starts on Friday against Forest, but the worry is if Isak is struggling a little bit, he'll be hooked on 60 minutes in games because you've got a ready-made, you've got Callum Wilson waiting in the wings. So if Isak keeps on playing well, we'll be fine. But it's just that worry that Eddie Howe now has 2 very good options for that striker role, and they could end up eating into each other's minutes. So that's the only concern there. When you've got a player like Watkins who's just so nailed on to start, is Isak going to be able to keep up with him with fewer minutes? And I'm not sure he will. No.
On a similar theme, Cyclopath has asked Havertz or Watkins. We've sort of covered that. I mean, they're both great options. For me personally, I've already made my Watkins bed, and happy to lie in that. Watkins in my team, he's the one I favour. Just surety of minutes, and he's just in good form at the moment. But yeah, I wouldn't be against Havertz. You are actually in this position of possibly going for one of those two.
I haven't got really an answer now.
And you're an Aston Villa fan.
Yeah, I mean,
so you should have an answer.
Yeah, I know I should. Yeah, I mean, I'm mulling it over myself. The thing that I really like with Havertz is he's got 3 home games in a row now. So he's got Everton and then he's got Villa and Liverpool, Liverpool don't travel well in that double, and Chelsea as well. It's all very well looking at Havertz against Watkins stats from the last 6 to 8 game weeks, but you've got to react in FPL to kind of system changes. And since Chelsea switched to that back 3 with the wing backs, I think it's all kind of coming together for them a little bit now. I don't think they're quite there yet, but I think they're improving, and so that's why I'm eyeing up Havertz or Watkins. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't know which one I'm going to go for just yet. So.
Fatality has asked March to Almiron. He's got Haaland. He's going to keep Haaland. He's not going to jump on that bandwagon. And yeah, he feels that he feels that you just mentioned about the Liverpool defence and Haaland could do well there. But yeah, March to Almiron, I don't know about that, because March and Almiron I put in the same sort of bracket, as in they're sort of mid-price players, play for good teams that could do well in any given game week.
Yeah, I suppose it depends if you need the player for 28, if you're short of players. But then I think you've got to be fully prepared that Marsh might get something in 29, because Brentford at home, Bournemouth away is a nice double for him. And he's threatening, he's getting close. And you know it's going to click sooner or later for him, and he will have a game when he gets a goal and assist or whatever. But yeah, if it's part of a bigger plan and you need that slot, that you need that slot filled this week with a player who's starting, then I don't mind Almiron. I think now might be the time when he starts to kind of improve, having had a bit of a dip after the World Cup.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this name is in, I believe, Greek or Russian. I'm hopeless with languages, so I don't know the name and I can't even pronounce it because I don't know that alphabet. But they ask Son and Watkins. So once again, they're looking at the Watkins there. But we mentioned about Son. I think what we were saying there was Son good for a free hit, but possibly not long term.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to have that amount of money tied up in somebody like Son. I mean, he's got 2 goals in the last 4, so it's not terrible at all, but he's a lot of money. Kane's obviously the one that you want from Spurs. So do you want to are Spurs playing well enough consistently to put 23, 24 million into them? And I'd say no. They're not.
Sahil asks about, we were talking about Estupinan coming back from Australia and mentioning FPL Bateman's thread there about that. But he asked about Matoma, who's playing in Japan, which also is far away as well. So
and McAllister as well. McAllister's travelling too. Yeah.
And so I can't believe that Brighton won't be without all of those 3. But there could be. Is there a risk of reduced minutes at least for Matoma?
Yeah, potentially, but again, it applies to Estupinan as well. Who's to say he won't be given a bit of a rest in the second game on that Tuesday? We don't know. It's impossible to say right now. They've all got a lot of travelling to do. They'll arrive back at different times. And that's why I don't like this Estupinan transfer, because we're all thinking, oh yeah, we'll get reduced minutes, but we don't know that for sure, do we? And then if you do take him out, I mean, this is a really nice double for Brighton. And that's why part of me is kind of thinking, well, maybe I sell Haaland for a couple of weeks and just keep that Brighton triple up in place for the double, because we're trying to predict minutes and things, and it's impossible to know at the moment. So,
Fatality's got another question here. Leicester's defence is poor. He says, time to captain Tony. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, he's sort of third on my list out of Saka and Kane, but he's definitely in the mix for the captaincy.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I looked at him yesterday because that Saka point that you made, Joe, earlier about points being spread around. Well, Tony is the complete opposite of that with Brentford
Yeah.
usually, isn't he? He's the talisman there, and so if they're going to score, I think there's he's got high goal involvement. Leicester at home's a really good fixture. And I've just got this kind of funny feeling that he's going to blank tomorrow. Everybody's going to be super frustrated with him, and then he's going to deliver at the weekend. So, I wouldn't rule that out at all at the moment. So.
Sean has got the same dilemma that you might have. Haaland to Havertz or a Stupinan to Chilwell. If he can only make one transfer, that's exactly what you're thinking. For me personally, I'd be tempted by a Stupinan to Chilwell because of that slight risk of minutes, and Chilwell is a good player, and Haaland. But as long as you've got a plan, and Haaland's a player you're going to want to get back, but I'm not sure Stupinan is.
Yeah, because Brighton's fixtures after the double aren't very good.
No.
They play Tottenham, Chelsea away, and then Man City. So you're probably going to... Yeah, so it's just that double, which is the danger if you lose a Stupinan.
Yeah.
And he does really well in that. But, Haaland, when you say, look, he's got Liverpool at home in the next 2 game weeks, and somebody like Ollie Watkins or Havertz, I think you mentioned then. So Havertz has got 3 home games, and Haaland's got to play Liverpool once at home. I mean, you've got to back Havertz to outscore him in that period, haven't you?
I don't know how you looked into Game Week 30. I mean, I must admit, I haven't looked in detail at Game Week 30 yet, but Catch Some asked the best team that you think will double in 29 and is also good in Game Week 30. I mean, my instinct is go for the good players in good teams, whoever they're playing. So the likes of Haaland, for example, in Game Week 30, but possibly not in Game Week 29 for him. What do you think?
Yeah, so what the question was?
Yeah, which
double
is
in 29,
best
plays
teams
in
that
30.
double in 29, but also have a good Game Week 30.
There's a few. I mean, I'm just going through the fixture list. Villa have the double, and then they play Forest at home in 30, which is quite nice. I don't think the double's great away at Chelsea and Leicester, but we have been playing okay away.
So then Watkins there would be good, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Chelsea double, and then they go to Wolves. So all the players we've mentioned there, Chilwell and Havertz and things like that. Then you've got Leicester, who have Palace and Villa in the double, and then play Bournemouth at home in 30. Now, look, Leicester aren't playing very well at the moment, but if you think that they're going to suddenly start clicking, the fixtures are great for them there. Man United, good fixtures, and good double, and then good fixture against Everton. It's quite a few, actually. Even Forest. Wolves and Leeds in the double, and then Villa away. So there's loads of teams really that have a double and then have a good fixture coming out of that.
Lens asks, Gabe. Oh, it's Gabe. Gabriel asks, Billing or Utara for Bournemouth.
Good question.
Which one would you go for? Billing.
I like Utara. Well, yeah, I mean, he's a threat, isn't he, in the box? But I've really been impressed by Utara.
Yeah.
He's playing out wide on the right. I think he did against Liverpool, and he caused quite a few problems. And I quite like that for this weekend because he's playing Villa, and our left flank, especially when Alex Moreno plays, is the more attacking of the two. So Ouattara, if he is positioned on that right side and he's up against Alex Moreno, I think there'll be a bit of space in behind for him in that one. And then he comes out of that and he has the double with Fulham and Brighton, and then Leicester away after that. So it's a nice little 4-game run for Bournemouth. But yeah, I think Ouattara, I'd be looking at him for 5 million, I think.
Okay. The Earl of Lemon Grab asks if a nods to the team news I do with Neil each week. We always have Nathan Ferguson watch because he never plays. If he does return before the end of the season, will the Crystal Palace player go straight into my team as captain? No, he won't. He'd be lucky to get in my team at all because I don't think he'll last more than a match. So let's have a look. What else have we got? Okay. This is more. I don't know if this is a question or something. I'll read it out from Colm. Everyone and their dog are saying Haaland to either Watkins or Havertz. So my brain says Mbomo. Then I already have Tony. So you're thinking of doubling up against an attack against Leicester, possibly on a free hit. It's a tempter, but I wouldn't want to be stuck with Tony and Mbomo up front.
No, because the double's not great, is it? And then I think they come out of it and they play Newcastle after. I think if you were going to do that, I think this week was prior to this double was the one to do it. But on Mbeumo, he does get chances. I mean, it can probably be quite a frustrating own. I mean, I remember last year he had woodwork, I think, more than any other player in the division, 6 or 7 times it might have been. And then he had chances a couple of weeks ago when I watched them prior to the double. You know, he missed a sitter from a Rico Henry cross. And but yeah, I'm not sure if now's the time to double up on that Brentford attack. Mainly because also then you've got to think about, well, who are you missing? You know, you won't, if you've got 2 Brentford players, you know, and then there's Haaland, Watkins, Kane, Havertz. It's like you're only going to be able to get one of those, aren't you?
We all want strikers now. And final question, I'll go for Mahomey, best defender for Game Week 28. That's not Ben Chilwell, who's already got, but who also doubles in Game Week 29. I guess Trippier would be my next one for that.
Yeah.
But outside of Chilwell and Trippier, who would be the best one that plays 28 and doubles in 29 in defence?
I would maybe. I mean, it's a player which has been quite frustrating home, but I'd probably even look at Reece James and doubling up on those if he's going to be back, because if you want somebody who plays in 28 and doubles in 29, so now we're looking at Villa, we're looking at Bournemouth, Brentford, Chelsea, which is why I said Reece James, Leeds, Leicester. I don't think you're going to go for any of those teams. Trippier we've mentioned, and then it's Forest. Yeah, so I think if you really need somebody, I mean, let's see what Potter says. But he was out at the weekend, but I don't think Chelsea have got a fixture midweek, have they? So if he's given the all clear, maybe an attacking wing back kind of double up with James and Chilwell, it could pay off.
And reminding people to do have a look at our other videos and listen to our podcasts during the week. So, for example, for this particular question about best defender for Game 28, the Scoutcast did a big section on that, best forwards, best defenders for Game 28, and that was part of a sort of free hit and wildcard plans for 28, those that are doing that, or just interested to see what those teams look like. So do have a look at that. That Scoutcast on our channel on YouTube. But also watch out for burning questions. I understand they have a guest and they're plotting also free hit and wildcard drafts for 28 to see what they will look like. And they go heavy on strategy, so that's not to be missed as well. Also, we've had FPL stats, the stats of the day from Saturday. Karen was on hand to go through them, so do watch that as well. That gives those immediate stats, immediate reaction as well to those. We've got many more videos coming up, team news, Gianni's team selection and more as well. So do that. Remember to like and subscribe. So thanks everyone for joining us in the live chat. Tom, thanks for joining me. Good luck with your team. And as ever, there are a lot of similarities to my one. So I'm obviously very selfish and biased by saying good luck there. But yeah, good luck with that. And we'll see you next week for more goals imminent ahead of Game Week 29. That's during the international break. That's less time sensitive, so we'll be looking at those stats. And then immediately in this slot, Tuesday, midday, 1 o'clock rather, just ahead of Game Week 29, captaincy is back, so we'll be chatting about best captaincy for the double. In the meantime, thanks for joining us. Have a good game week and see you soon.
Thanks, Joe.